Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Matt back with another video. Today, I wanted to thank you guys for 2,000 subscribers. I never thought I would make it this far. And because it just so happens to also be my 100th video, I also thought I'd do something a little bit different here and talk about what's in my gear bag and what I'm using, less in a review style and just in a more casual conversational style. What I'm using on a regular basis for both personal and professional projects going into 2024. If you see something here that I have not made a video on yet, I'm probably planning on making a video for it, but if you leave a comment down below saying that you want to see that video sooner rather than later, I can kind of jump that up in the order of things. We'll just start with my Fuji system because that's honestly the majority of what's on this table. Not pictured is my Fujifilm X-T3 and the 10 to 24 millimeter filming me right now. My X-T3 used to be my professional camera and my main camera for everything and has now been delegated to my backup camera because I got this XH2S, which is my new workhorse, and I just absolutely love this thing. And obviously the 10 to 24 millimeter lens that I'm using to film myself right now, I use for my wide angle needs, so like interiors of cars and like a wide angle on a podcast with multiple people in a small room. That's what I use that lens for. But here, my XH2S, I use this for everything now. Usually I use it to film myself. I wanted it in the video here because with the battery grip and everything. So I felt like I wanted it in the video, so that's why I'm using my X-T3. But on it, we have the Viltrox 75mm f1.2, which I do want to get around to making a video for this before it becomes too old of news. It's kind of already, the time is kind of already passed to make that video and be relevant with the new release, but whatever. And next to it, we have another telephoto lens, which I have yet to make a video on, which this is the Fujifilm 50-140 f2.8, which just is a really great lens. It's just kind of big. And yeah, I don't tend to use it unless I really have to, but in the situations where I do need it, it is really nice to have a telephoto lens that has some versatility. So the main thing is like, if I'm in a really dark environment, that's where this 75 1.2 from Viltrox really shines. Like I recently was covering, well, this festival, the shirt that I'm wearing right now, Center Film Festival, and the creative director wanted photos of people watching the films in really dark theaters. So the only way to achieve that was with basically maximum ISO, dragging the shutter and shooting at f1.2 because otherwise there was just not enough light. So this 50-140 wasn't cutting it. That was a situation where this was really nice. But later there was an award ceremony on stage which had plenty of lighting, and I obviously didn't want to miss that. It was one of the most important things of the event, the award ceremony. So that's where I got out the 50-140 to have that versatility to be able to quickly zoom in, zoom out, get a wider composition, get really picking out details by zooming into 140. So this is really useful for that. It's also great for music photography, just having that versatility because you can only be so far from the stage, and to be able to get variety with that fixed distance, sometimes having a zoom really is helpful. Speaking of zooms, we have here the Fujifilm 18-55 f2.8 to f4. I have talked about and reviewed this on the channel before. You can't, even though it's a kit lens, you just can't underestimate the value of this. It's one of the best kit lenses ever. It's right up there with pretty much everything on this table optically. So it doesn't fall behind in that. The main thing is that it is an f2.8 and then it goes to f4 as you zoom it in. So it's not the fastest lens in the world, but it does have in-lens stabilization. And a lot of times when I'm shooting video, I'm controlling my light anyway. So I tend to use this a lot for video just because of its versatility of the zoom and not constantly have to change primes, especially whenever I'm on a gimbal. Between this and the 10 to 24, those are my main gimbal and video lenses because of the versatility. And then sometimes I'll use the 10 to 24 if I need a telephoto video option because of the stabilization. A lot of the times I don't really use primes for video unless sometimes I use this 33 1.4, which is the next lens I have to talk about anyway, because 33 is a focal length that the IBIS on my XH2S actually stabilizes really well in video. So it looks really good even though the lens doesn't have stabilization itself. And the other huge upside to this that the zooms, the 18-55 and the 10-24 can't do is this can go to f1.4. So not only do you get blurry backgrounds, which is nice, but not the most important thing to me. The more important thing is the ability to get clean photos and videos in really low light situations. Recently, I documented a business event for the local tourism board with a lot of local business owners and stuff. And it took place in this giant old warehouse. It used to be like a steel mill. and the lighting is very, very dim in there. And they specifically said that they didn't want flash because they didn't like the look of flash. They liked the natural artificial lighting. So I had to use fast prime. So I used the Viltrox 75. I used this 33mm. I used this 23mm I'll talk about later. But because of the f1.4, that's just a huge, huge thing to have as a professional, and just getting clean images in low light anyway. But if you want the cleanest possible images in low light, this lens will do that for you. This is a lens that will actually, I think, be my next video after this one. This is the Brighton Star 35mm f0.95. So it's a full stop faster than an f1.4 lens. Really, this is a fantastic lens, and it's only $200. The main drawbacks being that it is a manual focus lens because it's extremely hard to, at a reasonable price, develop a lens that can focus such a shallow depth of field that you're going to get with f0.95. This is the best f0.95 lens I've ever shot, and I've been sent lots of lenses to review by third parties on this channel, and this is one of the few that will actually stay in my bag. It is almost identical in focal length to my 33 1.4, so this will really be a special use lens when it's extremely low light, or for what I'm going for extremely shallow depth of field, or when I'm just trying to have fun. Next up, we have the Fujifilm 50mm f2. This is the best f2 Fujifilm lens that they have between the 23, 35, and 50. I've tried them all. Well, I've had the 23 f2 WR, the 35 XC, so the cheaper version with the same optics as the 35. With WR, but this 50 is really good. I just find I don't use it very often because 50mm on the crop sensor of the APS-C is just a little bit awkward. It's a 75mm, and since it's a prime kind of stuck at that awkward focal length, sometimes I have a hard time with it, and I generally prefer to take portraits either with my 33 or with the Viltrox 75 or even with the 50 to 140. So I don't tend to use this how I thought I would. The main way that I use it is taking product video because it has a pretty good autofocus motors and it can focus pretty close as well. So, and it has a little bit of compression because it's that 75mm equivalent. So this is pretty good for taking certain product videos that aren't quite macro. So if you're trying to take like a whole shot of a camera with some background blur, but the only thing is I don't have an ND filter for it, so I have a hard time shooting it outside. But this is one of the things I'm thinking about selling, but for now it's in my kit. I just don't tend to use it nearly as much as almost anything else. And then this is the Fujifilm 23 f1.4, the first version of it, because there's a new version like this 33mm with the weather sealing and the linear motors. This is the first version with the stepper motors and no weather sealing. I really got this as a band-aid because I had a Fuji 16 1.4 and I ended up selling it thinking that I was going to buy the 18 1.4 right away, but that didn't end up happening. So then I ended up getting the 10 to 24, which I'm using to film this right now. And I just found that I needed a faster lens that was wider than a 33mm. I really wanted the 18mm, but it's out of the budget, so I got a really good deal for like $250 to get this. And even though it's older and not quite as sharp as some of these newer lenses, it's still really good and it still holds up. And I do really like the pictures from it, and it is a 1.4 lens. Wider than 33mm, so it did exactly what I needed it to. Okay, so that is all the Fujifilm gear, and that's the majority of what we have here. The rest of this will be a quick ending to the video. Here we have something from Sony, which is, blasphemy for a lot of Fujifilm people. This is the Sony ZV-1. It has what is this brand? Ulanzi, the wide angle adapter on it. So this is for vlogging. The reason I bought one with the wide angle adapter, I got this used on eBay, was because in the 4K mode on this camera, it crops in a little bit, so you can still vlog handheld by correcting that crop, counteracting it with the wide angle adapter. So that's the idea there. I don't really use this very much, and I imagine if I'm vlogging, I'm going to end up using my XH2S. So I'm currently trying to sell this on eBay, but it doesn't seem that anybody wants to buy it. I'm assuming because there's newer cameras that do the same thing from Sony. So, and then we have here the DJI Mini 2. This is just a little drone. I think it's one of the smallest ones that they have, but it has a decent little camera on it. It's not the best thing in the world, but I'm actually currently working to get my commercial drone license to fly this, the Part 107 or whatever the official name is. I literally just came down. I was just upstairs taking this, and I came down to film this video real quick. So yeah, the DJI, it is pretty nice. I like it. I've captured a couple things with it, but I think I'll be delving more into that in the future as I get a commercial drone license, and I'll try to make that a more steady part of my business. And finally, the last thing on this table, which I'm sure you've been curious about and maybe looking at the whole time, if you can even see this and how wide the angle is on this shot. This is a Nikon D810 with the Sigma Art 35mm f1.4. Why do I have a Nikon DSLR when I have all this modern equipment, these mirrorless cameras from Fujifilm and everything? This is so archaic. I don't know. Something about me wanted a DSLR. One of the first legit camera that I had was a Nikon D3300. It was legit. Their APS-C DSLR, and I just had kit lenses for it. And I ended up getting a Fujifilm X-T3, which is what I'm filming on now. That was my professional one at the time, as I mentioned, because I needed better video features, and the Nikon APS-C DSLRs, and Nikon DSLRs in general just don't have good video features. But as I progress forward, and I now have a really good video system in the X-H2S, I thought, what about, like, because I'm also a photographer. I've independently come to appreciate the arts of videography and the arts of photography. And I was like, what about ultimate image quality? Like, the X-H2S does have amazing image quality, but I was looking at the specs of this D810, 36 megapixels, full frame with an ISO, base ISO of 64. So the ability to write super, super clean files. And the fact that I got this D810, the body, for $250 used is just amazing, because it sold for $3,000 when it first came out. And I got the lens for about the same $250 used on MPB. This is just an amazing $500 camera and lens combination that undeniably does write better quality image files than the X-H2S. It just doesn't have the same hybrid capabilities. So more of specializing in photography, this, even though it's older, from 2016 or whenever it came out, it really does outperform my X-H2S when it comes strictly to photo image files. And there's something about Nikon colors and just the allure of shooting a DSLR in general that I just really enjoy the image making experience with this. But it's also possibly a stepping stone to, at a future date, getting in the Nikon Z system, because maybe I'll eventually become a two-system shooter where I emphasize Fuji for video and Nikon for photography, eventually getting their mirrorless cameras. Or maybe even I'll just switch over to Nikon completely and go full frame, who knows. But right now, that's what I'm feeling. I kind of like the Fuji system, the Nikon systems, for different reasons. And obviously this is their older DSLR system, so this is not modern at all, but that's what I got. That's what I use all the time. This is really my for fun system right now, but who knows, that could one day overtake the Fujifilm for my professional work. I don't know. But yeah, this was just a fun video of me just getting to geek out on the stuff and talk about what I wanted to talk about, which is just all the gear that I've accumulated. And it's also really to let you guys see what we have on the table here for future videos, to see if there's something that you want to see a video on sooner rather than later as I continue to make videos for this channel. So that is all, guys. That was a lot of talking in a short period of time. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, leave a comment down below, and I'll hope to see you in the next video, guys. Peace.